Bonjour, this is Mrs. Beyer, and today I'm going to talk to you about the preposition de when it is paired with definite articles, or how we'll refer to it as de plus le in most instances. This is from the TEB, Level 1, Chapter 5C, page 261. Before we begin, I'd like for you guys to be sure you have your textbook, a notebook for notes and assignments, a pencil, and a red pen or any other pen that you can use for corrections. Please pause while you get that. Note, be prepared to pause the video to write your assignments and complete them. Always review first. So, that's what we're going to do, is review what we already know. We already know the definite articles. Definite articles go in front of nouns, they must agree in gender and number, and they translate as the. Now, using those three clues, can you complete this magic box? Write it in your notes and do your best to fill it in. Pause if you need some time. Okay, the definite articles mean the, and they are le, la, and les. You will also notice that we use L' if we're in front of a vowel sound. So we know what those definite articles are. That's the second part of this equation. Okay. Here are some examples of how we've used those in the past. Le café and la maison. Le café being a masculine word, la maison being a feminine word. Now, taking those definite articles we already know, we are going to combine those with the preposition de. This is from page 261 in your textbook. I have a picture of it here, but it might be easier to see on your book. Okay. Let's focus on the right side of my screen first. When do you need this? Well, you will need to use this when you want to say of the or from the, followed by a place. Notice my example. Du café, from the cafe, de la maison, from the house. So let's look at how that's built. I have zoomed in on page 261 section that really focuses on when to use the contraction of de plus le. What I'd like for you to do is to read the book's explanation and then see if you can fill in the magic box that corresponds. Please pause while you read through this and in your own notes, write de plus a definite article magic box. All right, here's what you should have written. Our masculine singular form of de plus le equals du, or de l'apostrophe if it goes in front of a vowel sound. The feminine, de la, or de l'apostrophe, and our plurals will stay as des. Repeat them after me. Du, de la, des. All right. Here are a couple of examples of those. I've given you the word magasin, piscine, and école. I need for you to choose the correct contraction of de plus a definite article in order to fill in the blank. And here you have it. Du, because it's masculine, in front of magasin. De la piscine, because it's feminine, in front of piscine. And de l'école. École is a feminine word. However, because it begins with a vowel sound, we are going to have the de l'apostrophe in front of it. Just in case you hadn't noticed, on this screen and the one previous to that, the title of the page is wrong. I apologize for that. It should be de plus the definite article. I was using some slides that I'd created earlier for my French 1 class for you guys, and there's a mistake there. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go with our activity. On page 262 of your textbook, you're going to, in complete sentences, tell whom the following things belong to. Now, our hint is the phrase that is used as the title, c'est à qui, répétez, c'est à qui, which asks, whose is it? Our instructions, dites à qui sont les choses suivantes. Say, to whom are the things following? In other words, say or tell to whom the following things belong. So, our model is this picture of a book and the word l'élève, which is who owns the book. In order to complete that in a full sentence, we're going to start with the phrase say, which we've been working with these last 3 weeks, which means it is. So we have c'est le livre, using a definite article, then de, our contraction, l'élève, because it begins with a vowel sound. I'd like for you to try numbers 1 through 7, please, in your notes. You're going to be going over these with red pen corrections, so go for it. If you make a mistake, I want to see those red pen corrections so I'll know if I need to reteach this lesson, okay? One quick thing, you'll notice I kind of cut off the name down here under number 4. That's okay. I only want you to use the word actrice. I'm not worried about the actress's name. So pause and complete activity 14 on page 262 now. Okay. Here are your responses to page 262, activity 14. Please be sure that you make red pen corrections. Number 1, c'est le football du footballeur. Try that for me. C'est le football du footballeur. Number 2, c'est le dictionnaire de la prof. Répétez. C'est le dictionnaire de la prof. Numéro 3, c'est le sandwich du proviseur. Répétez. C'est le sandwich du proviseur. Now, before we go any further, I'd like to address why number 1 and number 3 have different contractions. Footballeur was a masculine singular word, so you would choose du from your masculine singular box. Prof from the question was a feminine teacher. It told you la prof, so it becomes de la prof. Proviseur, which is a masculine word, would use du. Okay? Continuing on with number 4, I'm not a fan of the book's answer, so here's the one that I feel is the best. C'est le film de l'actrice. Répétez, c'est le film de l'actrice. Okay, down here, number 5, c'est le prof des élèves. Notice that we have des élèves because élève is plural. Same thing with number 6. Répétez, c'est le stade des footballeurs. Again, the word footballeur, just like élève, is plural, so we need des in front of it. And finally, for number 7, c'est le dessert de la cuisinière. Cuisinière is the feminine form of the word for a chef or a cook, so we have to use the feminine form here. All right, let's talk very quickly about how to translate each of these. When you're telling ownership, basically what you're doing is you're going to be reading the phrase backwards. For instance, if I start with number 1, I would use the phrase it or it is to start it out. But it's the soccer ball of the soccer player. In English, we would say it's the soccer player's ball. In number 2, it's the teacher's dictionary. In number 3, it's the principal's sandwich. You guys get the hint? Okay, so if you're going to do this, your mindset really needs to be to write it in French correctly. The definite article le, the noun that is being owned, the preposition of the or from the, that contraction we just went over, and then who owns it. Okay, we'll be practicing some more of that this week. All right, your next activity is going to be when to use de in order to describe where someone comes from. Now, last week we were introduced to the verb venir, and we conjugated it. This week we are trying to be sure that we understand that when we tell where we come from, we're going to be using a form of de before the geographical location. Now, here are some quick rules. If you're going to tell what a person is from a city, you will be using either de or de apostrophe. Why do we use de apostrophe sometimes? Well, just like our second example here, the place is called Annecy, which begins with a vowel sound, so we would contract it. Amir vient d'Annecy. Our second example is a country. If a country is a feminine country, we're going to use de or de apostrophe. If a country is masculine, you will use du. Now, the first question you're probably going to ask me is, how do I know if a country is masculine or feminine? First of all, you're going to be looking at the African countries for the most part in this chapter. And so on your vocabulary page, they'll show it to you there. Okay? With countries that we have done already before, like la France, le Canada, and les États-Unis, you can either check in previous chapters in the book, or my advice to make it a little bit faster for you, this is the one time when I would say Google it, okay? Because trying to find the reference pages at the back of your textbook, if you don't have, or if you're on the online version, is tough. In your textbook, though, you could go to those reference pages pretty quickly, okay? Notice what we did with a plural country. There aren't very many of those. The United States is one of the very few. So we have the word États-Unis for United States. Look, it looks like United States backwards. But when we put it all together, we get des États-Unis. Try that one for me. Des États-Unis. Notice that as I'm going through and pronouncing it, we're having liaison between all of those S's. All right. So I want you to try a couple in your notes for practice. I want you to use veneer conjugated plus the correct form of de here. I want you to translate, I come from Paducah, he comes from Cameroon, and we come from the Ivory Coast. Please pause your video and complete those in your notes. All right, here are your answers. The first one, je viens de Paducah. Remember, de is going to always precede a city. The second, ils viennent du Cameroun. Cameroon is a masculine country, so we chose du. If you were like me, you probably had to go to the vocab at the beginning of the chapter to look that up, because I don't have those memorized as well. And last but not least, nous venons de la Côte d'Ivoire. We come from the Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast happens to be a feminine country. Again, probably had to look that up. All right. The next activity is on page 262, activity 15, and I don't want you to follow the book's instructions. I want you to follow mine, please. My instructions ask you to write the correct form of de in front of each country. So this is how we're going to get a little bit of practice of knowing which of these countries are masculine versus feminine, okay? Now, the great thing about it is the book gives you the le or la as your clue, and you just have to choose between du, de la, de apostrophe, and des. Here's my model for you. The country of Gabon is number 1 because it has le in front of it. That tells me it's masculine singular. So I'm going to match that up with du because it is also our masculine singular. All right. Pause and please complete those 8 in your notes and then come back ready to red pen correct. And here we are with our answer key. I'm going to pronounce these for you just so that you guys can get a little bit of practice. Please repeat them after me. Number 1, du Gabon. Numéro 2, de France. Numéro 3, du Bénin. 4, du Canada. 5, de Côte d'Ivoire. 6, du Mali. 7, du Burkina Faso. Et 8, du Sénégal. All right. Not done yet. Please take a photo of your red pen corrected activities and attach them to the assignment for 15 points completion. Be sure that you contact me if you have any questions or if you found any errors. Much like you guys, I'm working at home with lots of distractions, and so it's very possible that I might have made a mistake. If so, please bring it to my attention. I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys, so much. Take care.